Dixie Talk Radio. It's my honor, my privilege, and my pleasure to be here with you today. I'm going to talk about something today that it's been on my heart. We read out of the scriptures from Mark 3:25, if a house is divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And in Galatians 6:2, we read, when we carry one another's burdens, we fulfill the law of Christ. You know, I don't feel like I'm old, but I do seem to talk and reason as if I am. I lived through many conflicts in this nation. When I was a teenager, I remember the Vietnam conflict. I had a brother that went to Vietnam. Our men were disrespected when it was the politicians playing the game. And I remember the civil uproar that we had in this nation and watching as a child Detroit burn. Watching a young black child walk in a fear to a new school. I was in the 5th grade, now I'm telling my age, when our president was shot and killed. I remember the discord in this nation, but I've never, ever remembered it as it is today. We can't seem to just disagree. We have to be disrespectful along with it. While we should be passionate about certain issues, we should be prepared to present and debate, not burn and destroy. Our house is divided, and I fear I'm watching it fall. I do believe certain things must fall. We have to have the chaos to expose the corruption. And those who are involved and are helping to hide in this mess are now acting like cornered and wounded animals, and they will nip and bite at anything that comes close. The hearings last week with Brett Kavanaugh were seen around the world, and around the world many looked like fools. Again, out of Mark, we read, if a house is divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And when we carry one another's burdens, we will fulfill the law of Christ. I read this morning out of Ecclesiastes. We know there is a time for everything. There is a time, a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to uproot. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to tear down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones, and a time to gather them. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search, and a time to give up. And a time to keep, and a time to throw away. A time to tear, and a time to mend. A time to be silent, and a time to speak. A time to love, and a time to hate. A time for war, and a time for peace. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. I believe we, the people of the United States of America, as a nation, we have an obligation, you can call it a burden, to the world. But first to ourselves and our families and to our communities, and most important, first to God. Today I want to talk about this division and how we, the people, can break down that wall. We talk about building a wall, but I think there's one that we need to break down. How can we share the positives, and how can we shed light on the negatives?